or people have to move from time to time. Ambassadors, representatives have to be replaced. Nobody stays forever in his job. And I think Ambassador Moussaoui is probably the best replacement at this very crucial time. Well, I think that UNSCOM has to stick to the professional rules of work and to focus on disarmament issues and to focus on the remaining issues of disarmament rather than to go and target documentation, which obviously Iraq has been trying its best to offer and to make available in the past. But what they are asking for now is presumed documentation, which we don't have. They are either non-existent or have been destroyed in the past when we destroyed some of those weapons programs. If cooperation means letting UNSCOM work professionally on the job of disarmament, then Iraq is cooperating. But if UNSCOM means that the whole Iraqi archives should be open for it, that's something very difficult to achieve, and Iraq cannot allow its, some of its top security issues, for instance, to be open for a commission that's solely specialized in the area of disarmament. And given the different reports that we've seen before about the different inspectors' interactions with other intelligence agencies, especially with the Mossad of Israel, Iraq cannot offer UNSCOM such documentation that are irrelevant to disarmament but relevant to national security of Iraq to make it available for such a process. And mainly in the south, I mean, given the American and the British flights over the area, the possibility of targeting any of our installations, and obviously Iraq's right in self-defense, all this could be putting those flights at risk.
Everybody expresses themselves.
Up to now, we are not really satisfied with the way things are taking place in the Council. There are a few members that really are concerned about the lifting of the sanctions. And I would say probably the majority of the Council members are concerned about the continuation of the sanctions and the suffering of the Iraqi people. But the American and the British pressure continues on those members to try not to address that issue in any significant way.
Oh, you were.
So what should I do?
You were talking with him.
I think this proposal is still vague, and the French and the others are floating ideas and concepts which nobody is rest assured that they are going to be worked out in the Council. So I think it's premature for us to comment on these concepts, but also we're sticking to our position, which we think that Iraq has the right to see the lifting of the sanctions. With the fact that has been established now that civilian targets were hit, residential areas were hit, hospitals and so forth, there was a great damage both physically and psychologically to the people of Iraq. We want a clean process, which UNSCOM was not serving, and UNSCOM was not demonstrating. Again, I stress our position in Iraq that it's not personal. The issue here is the overall work of UNSCOM that has been biased, that has been motivated politically by the U.S. policy. And unless this is changed, there is no way in dealing with any chairman of UNSCOM. We don't think that there is anything that could quicken the lifting of the sanctions if we are to depend on the United States and the UK policy, because they are adamant on it, and As long as this policy continues, Iraq has no incentive whatsoever to try to cooperate. This is why we're saying that the bottom line is the lifting of the sanctions. Anything short of that is not going to be acceptable, is not going to reward Iraq with anything.
Can we just ask you one or two quick questions? Would that be possible? Just one question. How about one question? All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning, Ambassador.
Ambassador, CNN is reporting that Iraq is allowing inspectors in.
We'll see. I'll meet you after I leave him. I have a message to him.
Is the reply favorable?
I have a positive message. Oh, you mean we're in competition with them, and we just happen to be letting people
You know,
in.
we were
That
being
wasn't
polite. That's,
Ma'am, please.
I know he can't do it, but is there any way you can get Fred or something?
can you get Fred down here?
Good boy.
Just like five.
What is the substance of the letter?
Well, I delivered the letter to the Secretary General in response to his appeal yesterday and to the appeal of the Russian Federation President Boris Yeltsin. The Iraqi leadership have decided to resume full, complete cooperation with both the UNSCOM and the IAEA.
So allowing unconditional?
Yes.
When are the
Yes,
inspectors going to be allowed to return
They will be
to
allowed
Baghdad?
any minute they want to go back and to resume their normal work. From now on, I mean, it's up to them to decide when to go back.
Why did the Iraqi leadership take this position? What changed?
Well, again, I mean, the appeal of the Secretary General, which we highly trust, and the appeal also of the President of the Russian Federation has helped in trying to reach out to a situation where Iraq's point of view gets promoted, and we think now we have had better hearing for our position, and that the Council hopefully will be more positive on the question of the comprehensive review that hopefully will be leading to the lifting of the sanctions.
Has the SG given you assurances in making a stronger appeal to the Council in comprehensive review and the paragraphs that you wanted in the resolution?
Well, this he has committed himself for before. There's nothing new about it. He's been the one who raised the possibility of the comprehensive review from the beginning, and I think he still believes strongly in such a review that could help in the process of lifting the economic sanctions.
Mr. Ambassador, did the letter from Secretary General promise the review to be connected to Iraq going back on the
Well, the letter of the Secretary General, you will have to see it. It has become a public document, and the letter appealed to Iraq to resume its cooperation with UNSCOM and with the IAEA, with a promise that Iraq's case will be looked up on favorably, and the comprehensive review will be taking place on the right time. This is what was contained in the letter.
Ambassador, you've been calling for the restructuring of UNSCOM and the firing of Mr. Butler. Does that mean that this demand is now withdrawn?
Oh, that's not in the deal.
That is what?
It's not in the deal. Thank you.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Okay, I'm هنعدي عليك شوية.
Really wants peace and stability. Everybody that wants the question of disarmament to be addressed in a technical, professional way should be happy about it. And I think that everybody that was trying to implement some other aspects of its own agenda, its own foreign policy, obviously would not be happy about it.
What about the United Nations? What does this say about the United Nations' role in peacekeeping? Do you think that as we go on with more conflicts that you see as a member state, that the United Nations has a real role to play?
We think that the United Nations has a real role to play in such incidents. Iraq has welcomed the intervention of the Secretary General as the chief diplomat in the organization to have a say in this whole thing and to have a role not only to forge an agreement the way he did, but also to follow it up and to make sure that the implementation will be as smooth and as technical as I think the requirements of the disarmament under the Security Council resolutions are. And I think he's only implementing a role that under the Charter he was and will continue to be obliged to do. Yeah. Well, Iraq has always been a major factor in the peace and stability in the area and as a balancing power for the rest of the region. We still look forward to this role in a very peaceful and very constructive way. We don't think that keeping Iraq under the sanctions is of any help to the balance of power in the area. And without a balance of power, it's difficult to talk about peace and stability. Vacuums always draw hurricanes and problems that nobody wants. It's not the first time. We have done that before. We have told that before to council members and to the special commission people that sensitive sides of security nature or sovereignty nature, it's not easy for us to allow them in.
What some diplomats are saying.
Well, obviously, I was surprised and appalled by those attacks on Baghdad, which has caused lots of damage within the civilian population. I don't think it's warranted. I don't think that Iraq, in defending itself against foreign airplanes, is doing anything illegal. I think what was illegal in this whole process is the flying of the American and the British planes in the Iraqi airspace. This is not the airspace of London or Paris or Washington, but it is an Iraqi airspace. And when we come to defend this airspace, we are accused of being threatening the American and the British plane. This is a bad logic, and this cannot be acceptable both by the Iraqi people and I think by the Arabs at large. This is what we have hoped, both with the Clinton administration and with this one, that they will start to reconsider the policy and to do serious reviews that take into consideration the feeling in the Arab world and the feeling outside. And this policy at large of targeting Iraq has become very unpopular. And based on that, I think America should change the policy into something else.
You reach him.
I think it was bad that his trip to the region was preceded by this military attack. And he, as a Secretary of State, his main job is to run diplomacy. And this is not the way to run diplomacy. He will be better off by resorting to peaceful and meaningful dialogues with all the countries, including America's enemies, if they have chosen Iraq as an enemy. Iraq has not chosen America as an enemy. It's the other way around.